All right, if you're a CSA farmer and you want to learn how to get more of your members to sign up for your CSA early, this is the episode for you. I'm going to share with you the results of this year's early renewal campaign. I just finished the promotion. I closed the doors yesterday. Amazing results yet again. Today I'm walking you through the process step by step and sharing some valuable marketing principles with you. Let's get started.
Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show.
Well, welcome to episode 235 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I am your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of mydigitalfarmer.com and this podcast, which is all about trying to help other farmers like you get more confident in your marketing and sales strategies so that you can grow a profitable business, something that makes money. Listen, one of the things I've noticed is that when you have confidence, when you believe that you know what you're doing, you do different actions and you get different results. So I want to help you find that confidence so that you step out, take risks, and do the things that are required to make money for your business. How's everyone doing today? So glad you're here. If you are one of my regular listeners, big shout out to you. Thanks for coming back. And if you're new to the show, I'm really glad you're here today. I hope you get something out of it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Go check out my first 10 episodes. I designed them to be an onboarding ramp into the farm marketing space. Another place to go if you want to learn the ropes of farm marketing is to get onto my email list, because when you do, I'm going to drip out basically like a crash course in marketing to you over the course of like 3 months. Every week you'll get an email from me. It's a curated walk through the stuff you need to know. I'm going to teach you things. I'm going to give you freebies. I'm going to point you certain directions. You're going to learn so much. You're going to get actionable steps you can take right now that are going to make a difference to your bottom line. So get on that list by going to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. It's totally free. I get a lot of good feedback. That's mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. Today's podcast is sponsored by my friends at LocalLine. It's official. LocalLine has launched their new and highly anticipated subscriptions feature. Now, creating subscriptions for your customers has never been easier. Subscriptions allow your farm to turn one-time orders into recurring revenue. Use LocalLine's subscription feature to run your CSA or increase your cash flow and increase customer loyalty. Subscriptions is very flexible. You can add, edit, and cancel subscriptions at any time in your back office and allow customers to manage their settings and add one-off purchases to their orders. You can also offer different subscriptions for different customers, like a standing order for chefs and a CSA box for CSA members. LocalLine's subscriptions feature also supports variable weight products like meat and seafood, so you can offer subscription products to all your customers, no matter what you sell. In addition to all of that, LocalLine subscriptions is very affordable. You can add it to your LocalLine account for just $25 a month. Now, for podcast listeners of the My Digital Farmer podcast, LocalLine is offering a free premium feature for an entire year when you sign up using my coupon code, MDF 2023. That includes subscriptions. So why not try it out today? I love LocalLine. Head to mydigitalfarmer.com/LocalLine and be sure to use my coupon code MDF 2023 to get that free premium feature for one whole year. For more information, check out the link in the show notes. And now back to the show. All right, today's episode is something I do every year. I just wrapped up my CSA Renewal promotion campaign with my current 2023 CSA customers. And I wanted to do a breakdown of what that promotion strategy looked like and provide you with some general marketing and sales principles for how to go about putting together a promotion launch for one of your signature products. So even if you're not a CSA farmer, you might get something out of today's episode because the principles are the same. Whenever you do a big launch for something important, these are some of the things you might want to be thinking about as you build that campaign. So don't just click away because you're like, oh, I'm not a CSA farmer. I think that you're going to hear some things that I do, and you might be able to apply those to your business. So my goal with today's episode is for all of you CSA farmers, especially who run renewal campaigns where you have a moment in time every year where you try to get your current members to recommit to you for either a weekly subscription or maybe it's a, one and done. You're trying to get them for 25 weeks or 18 weeks or whatever. I'm going to walk you through what I have done for this is going to be, I think, my 7th year that I've done this, and what my process is. Now, I do have a online course that walks through this very, very specifically and spoon feeds it to you. It's called Early Bird Campaigns That Convert. And I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to go check that out and get the nitty gritty and like me holding your hand and giving you all of my cheat sheets, all of my emails that you can kind of use as a guide. But I want to give you sort of an overview of how it worked today. I think it's going to be really helpful. So let me just start out by giving you some of the big picture details. I have a CSA that has 400 members in it, give or take a few. And then I also have some folks that signed up as 4-week trial members, and those are called sampler members. They get thrown into the mix as well. There's about 50 of them. And all of these people get pooled into one giant group. And for a 7-day period during the year, here at the end of my CSA season, I try to get that group of people to sign up for next year. And this year, my promotion period with the dates that I set were October 15th through the 23rd. That is an 8-day sign-up period. The 15th was a Sunday morning, and I chose that on purpose. I always start these launches on weekends, either Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, because I want it to be fair. I want as many people as possible to be able to be home to fight for a scarce product in my offer. And I want to give everyone a fighting chance of being able to get that in the first hour. So that's probably why I do that. But I do want you to notice that it is a pretty short time period. It's not something that goes on and on. I used to have my early bird campaign open for like 4 months, and you could buy at the early bird rate and offer for a long time. And it didn't seem to get people motivated to go and actually take that action and renew. A lot of them would just still wait until April or May to get the job done. And that's partly why I decided to experiment with this kind of a promotion, with this launch concept many years ago. I was so frustrated as a farmer that I couldn't get people to sign up early. I wanted more of them to sign up early because it not only gave us cash flow, that was definitely part of it, but I just wanted the peace of mind, knowing that most of the sales were in the bag. Even just knowing where I was at, even if it wasn't most of the sales, I just wanted to know before Christmas, like how many people are going to come back so that I have a better idea of how much sales and marketing I really have to do in the springtime. I don't want to have to wonder and wait for several months into the new year. I'm a planner, so I need that information. And that was a really big source of tension for me and anxiety. And I just, at one point, I was like, I've had it. I need to figure this out. And that's when I went and started studying. It actually is what kicked off everything with Digital Farmer. This is the sort of the origin story. I started studying digital marketing, social media marketing specifically back then. And I began to implement some of those things that I was learning from the online marketing space into the CSA. And the first thing that I did was build this early bird promotion launch. And that first year that I did it, I had ridiculous results for me. I think it was like 70, 75%, I'm kind of forgetting now, of my people came back in that time period. So I'm a huge believer in this launch method, and it's worked for me ever since. I think this is my 7th year. It could be my 6th year of doing this, and I've had the same repetitive results year after year. It continues to provide for us. And so I'm going to quickly just share with you the results of this year's before I kind of walk through the process. I want you to see what's happened. So I had 385 spots that we were making available for this promotion, and I sold 310 of them to my current members in this 8-day period. What I also want to point out is that out of those 310, I sold 279 of them on the first day, which is kind of ridiculous, right? When you think about that. I had done such a good job of doing this early promotion stuff that the majority of them went on the first day to try and take care of it. And that's exactly what we want to have happen. The rest of the week, let's see, on the 16th, I had 12 people come in. That was my next biggest sales day. And then it was 4, 4, 4, 2, 2, and 5 on the last day. I only wanted to share that with you because in this strategy, that is pretty typical. You see a spike on the first day, another one maybe on the second, and then on the last day, you typically see a little bit more than usual as well. So let's talk about the kind of the 4-step process for how I put these things together. And I'm going to start out with explaining to you my offer. So I always encourage farmers in my early bird campaigns program, and just when I'm doing, trainings, to make a really compelling, irresistible early bird offer. And the early bird offer has to be the best offer of the year that you make on your CSA. Like, you can't have a better offer with this awesome discount, 2 weeks before your CSA starts to try and get more people in. Like, that can't be your best offer, because then you'll train everyone to wait until then to take that offer. So you really want this to be so irresistible that it pushes your current customers back into the corner and says, you really should take care of this now. The thing is that most of your CSA members, they probably already know whether they want to do this or not again. They just need to kind of be encouraged to put the money down now as opposed to waiting, right? Nobody wants to spend that money right now, especially before Christmas. So we've got to just remind them, hey, this is why it's important that you do it now and not wait until April. So the offer that I come up with, I kind of have a standard formula now for the way we do it. There's always some kind of a price discount. You don't have to do that. There's many ways that you could spin a compelling offer, but we usually give a price discount. In this case, it was $20 off. But before I kind of go there, I want to make sure you realize that we actually up the price before we discount it. So this is a little bit of like pricing psychology going on. So last year, when people bought the CSA, like after early bird was over, I think my early bird price last year was $510 was the early bird last year. And when it was done, we raised the price to $540 for anyone who came in new. Okay, so that in my mind was the new price, right, of the CSA vegetable share for last year. So this year when I'm repricing, I said, okay, well, this year our new price for brand new people after this early bird is over is going to be $580. So we're going to give them a $20 discount from that, making the early bird price $560. Okay. And we had done the numbers, like we had looked at our budget for next year to figure out, okay, what are our enterprise budgets telling us? What does this need to make for us? A big expense for us is always our H2A, our labor. And so we know that price goes up every year, the wage. And so we kind of took that into account. And that's sort of how we ended up with, well, we need to raise the price this amount per box. And we know what we're going to make on wholesale, right? Like we've done all this work. So we feel really good about That's the price it needs to be. Now, if a person were to go back and remember, I paid $510 last year. This year I'm paying $560, right? That's maybe a sizable jump for some people. But the way that we message it, we tell them, well, you're getting a $20 discount from what the price will be in the future. Many of my customers don't even remember what they paid last year. So I'm spending some time here on the pricing situation because I know sometimes for CSA customers, for CSA farmers, it's really hard for us to raise our price every year. If you have the kind of CSA that's only being sold once a year, where they're only looking at the price once a year, and it's not like a week-to-week thing that's coming out of their pocket, it's, I think, actually a lot easier to raise the price because they, in many cases, don't even remember what they did last year. So all this is to say we did offer a $20 discount. In addition to that offer, we said we're going to give you a gallon of apple cider from one of our local orchards. This is a very popular item in our online store, and so I knew that, and we actually don't even sell it as a gallon. We always sell it as a half gallon in our fruit share. So I knew that that would be a very popular thing. That was our bonus, just a bonus gift, and this price, or that was our offer, the bonus and this pricing discount. And we also had a special bonus for anybody who bought a coffee share. We have other add-on shares, and that was something that my vendor offered to me. Hey, I'll give them an extra bag of the holiday blend if they decide to get a coffee share of any size. And so that was also something that we could talk about to encourage people to purchase that. So building your offer is kind of step one. There's many ways to build an offer. I always do encourage you, though, to have some kind of a little extra bonus. And the bonus doesn't have to be a product. It can be access to you. It can be an event. It can be a digital resource that you're making available to them. Lots of different features that you could put on there. Okay. I also at this time had to really think about, are there going to be any changes to our CSA next year? And this is something that I think is one of the reasons why some farmers don't do early bird as early as we do. Like, we always run our campaign at the end of October or middle of October, the last week of our CSA, or in this case, it was actually the second to last week of our CSA. So I'm in week 18 right now, and we closed the doors to our early bird yesterday. So this is sort of a new territory for us to close the early bird offer before the CSA is even over. But we always do position it here at the end, and that's partly because we're trying to avoid the big holiday season, right? To me, end of October still feels like we're not prone to all of the hype around the holidays where people start spending money for that. They have, scarcity in their wallets. And we also just want to take advantage of the energy and momentum that's coming off of the end of our season. And we do a really good job of spinning that flywheel. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode. But there are some changes that we have to make at the end of every year. And sometimes I think CSA farmers don't want to make those decisions until after January or February. And so as a result, they're not comfortable setting a price or deciding on new pickup sites in October, right? You're just still trying to get through your season and you can't even think about next year. So I get that. We just make this a discipline. Like, we're going to be decisive and we're going to say, yeah, this is what we're not doing next year. This is something new we're adding next year. And we just put a line in the sand. So here were some of the changes. They were significant. We decided, first of all, to cut an entire CSA pickup site. It was our smallest one in Port Clinton. And I think we had 25 customers coming to that one compared to our other sites range between 80 to 170 people, right? So making a 40-minute drive to Port Clinton, which is on the lake, to that lake community for 25 customers, and that number shrinks every year. We just decided that this was going to be our last season. Now, that was a difficult decision for us. We've been going there for 15 years, and those relationships are really solid. But I just felt like, you know what? This is what the business requires of me. And we're always trying to simplify our workflow over here on the farm and trying to get ourselves to stay on farm as much as possible and not always be in a truck. So this is kind of another step in that direction. This is going to free me up next year. I'm going to get my Thursday evenings back and I will have the option to stay here at home on the farm, or I can swap out with Kurt and take turns doing the largest pickup site, the CSA pickup site in Perrysburg. So it's just going to give us some choices and some options. But that was a pretty big shock to our community. I'm bringing this up because this may be something that you decide you want to do too. Like, don't feel like you always have to keep expanding your site. Sometimes simplifying things is the way to go. The second big thing that we did was we discontinued one of our add-on shares. So we had a partnership with a creamery, and they were doing a milk and an ice cream share. People had to buy it on their website, but they were coming to our location. And so we just noticed that the sales were really low, had gone down a big chunk. And it was creating some competition with some of our add-on shares as well. So we just decided, when we talked with them, like, is this really worth it for both our businesses to be doing this? Like, the opportunity cost here for both of us. And so we came kind of to a mutual agreement that it was time to end that relationship. And so we did it very well. Like, they're awesome people. We're still going to promote them, but they're not going to be a share type anymore in our store or in our CSA. And again, that sent some shockwaves through the community when we announced that. We didn't spend too much time on that message because it felt like a diminishing, but I did need to say it at some point. And that was a decision that we had to make kind of early on here. And it was a conversation we had to have with this vendor, and that's always hard. So anyway, but this is kind of part of the early bird promotion process too, where you have to think about what is going to be different next year. Am I going to add any new products? Am I going to change any new sites? Am I going to shift a pickup site to a different day? Like, you need to make those decisions. And that can sometimes be one of the reasons that people don't want to do early bird, because they don't want to make those decisions yet. So okay, let's move on. The second kind of principle I wanted to talk through here as I describe the story is creating urgency. So it's important when you build an early bird promotion or any kind of launch, frankly, for a product, to create urgency in the process. And we did that in several different ways. So one of the ways we do it is by limiting something in our product suite. And in our case, we always limit our egg share. So our egg share is our most popular share type. Everybody wants eggs, and it's kind of hard for us to source them out here, really good quality ones. And so we sort of have this number of 100 egg shares. We have 400 members, right? And I bet at least half of them would want an egg share. And so we just have decided, no, there's only ever going to be 100. And partly the reason we keep it there, even though I could probably get like maybe 150, but I keep it at 100 because this is what drives people to buy on the first day in our CSA, and that has a lot of value to me. There's also kind of this halo effect that's coming off of the energy from this share that goes on to the other parts of my promotion, because there's so much hype around, oh my gosh, I want the eggs. I've got to be there at 7 a.m. when the cart opens on the first day. Some of that energy spills out onto the rest of the promotion for our CSA, and I like that. So I'm really trying to stir the pot. I'm trying to create energy, and this is one of the ways that I can do that. I already talked about that I also create an 8-day container for the promotion itself, and that's another way that you build urgency. I used to do a 2-week period, a 14-day period. I almost did that this year, but I changed my mind and I pulled it back to just a week, and I'm really, really glad I did. I'm going to make myself listen to this podcast next year to remind myself why this was a good idea. You'll find that because so many of the sales do come on the first day, if you have a 14-day promotion period, then you have 13 more days that you've got to create raw energy, and it's really hard to maintain that momentum. So I like having it really small, because then I can legitimately in my messaging feel like, yeah, you guys, you need to pay attention. It's only open for 7 days. And it's easier for me to show up with energy and urgency and making sure people know the information, because it's only around for 7 or 8 days. I'm also very specific when the time starts in my messaging. Like, I'm talking very early on, like 2 weeks out, I'm like 7 a.m. on Sunday, October 15th, 7 a.m. And being specific about the time the door opens creates urgency too. Like, if I was just to say, well, we're going to open registration on Sunday, That has a different feel than when I say, we're opening registration at 7 a.m. sharp on Sunday. Do you see the difference? Like that makes a person think, oh my gosh, there's a reason she said 7 a.m. Do I have to be there right at 7? Is there a reason that I can't show up at 9, right? It immediately sets this expectation that you want to get there right at 7 for some reason. The third thing that we did to create urgency in this offer was we built a wait list. We started collecting a wait list. We've been doing this all year, but I started talking about the wait list a lot in the weeks before the promotion. And I was posting on it on my outward-facing Facebook page and Instagram on social media. I was encouraging my members to tell their friends about the CSA waitlist to get them on it. And I just kept saying, hey, we're going to offer our first spots to our current members, but on November 1st, I'm opening the doors to anybody who's, all the leftover spots will be offered first and only to the wait list. And then they'll get first dibs. If there's still spots after that, I'll just open it to the public. And I will build a special offer just for the wait list promotion. So, the fact that I'm collecting a wait list and I'm talking about it, and I'm even dropping the number of people that are on the wait list from time to time and how it's growing, that creates urgency in my own members because they now see that there is competition for those spots. Should they decide not to renew in that 7-day window, they can't just wait until April now because that spot probably won't be there, right? So that's another kind of messaging tactic. Even if, your wait list only has 7 people on it, you don't have to tell people that. You can just tell people you've got a wait list, and that has the same effect. Okay, so building your offer, finding a way to create urgency in the campaign, and then one of the other key elements that I want to talk through here is how important it is to build a pre-launch, what I call the pre-launch runway. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this in the episode. This is sort of the messaging that you spin out from Grand Central Station here at the farm over the course of the week prior to you even opening the doors to the offer. Okay, so it's really important that whenever you're doing a big launch promotion that you create energy, momentum, and hype. And we do that through the process, through creating events and through our communication. So I kind of have 2 goals when I'm building out the pre-launch runway, the messaging before I open the doors. I want to create this hype, and I want to make sure that people have all the information that they need by 7 a.m. on October 15th or whenever the cart opens, right? There's kind of 2 goals. You should not have a customer showing up to renew their share and be making their decision there on the spot of, what do I want? Like if you do a good job of building an early bird promotion or any kind of promotion launch, you've done a good job if you've got them to a space where they know exactly what they want. And when they go to the store, they're like just going to put it in their cart and check out. So I needed to get all the information out to them so there was no hesitation. All the obstacles had been removed. The way that I build the pre-launch runway, I have three ways. I use email marketing to my CSA member list, and I use the private Facebook group for our CSA. That's the predominant place where I'm communicating, and the messaging is overlapping. So I'll walk you through what I'm talking about on each day, this past launch in a second. But I just want to make sure that you know that if I talk about the bonus offer as my core messaging element on Monday, then I'm also posting about that same thing in the Facebook group. There's an image graphic that goes along with it. So that way, if they're in their inbox or if they're in the Facebook group, they're seeing the same message twice. And we want that repetition. That's really powerful, as opposed to scattering it all over the place or having it be random. We want there to be consistency. So I do plan that and map that out. I also have a paper flyer, and so I do want to bring that up. This is not a major thing, but I do take the time and expense to print that out, and it's just a simple like graphic of Kurt and myself and some text that says, hey, early bird sign up opens this Sunday at 7 a.m. and then the link. And that gets passed out to them at the pickup before the cart opens. That's helpful for customers who maybe have not been getting my emails during that week, or who don't check their email. It's a physical thing they can take home and put on their fridge and write down on their calendar to make sure that they know about it. Okay, well, I want to spend the rest of this time talking about the pre-launch runway, and then what my email cadence was. What was the stuff that I was actually talking about? This is the question that a lot of farmers often have, like, what do I even talk about in these email promotions and posts? And this is where you have to think about what are the questions that I need to make sure that I answer so that my customer feels confident and ready to go to the store at 7 a.m. on the first day and buy, right? What are the things they most need to know? And what's nice about early bird renewals specifically is that you don't have to do a lot of education on what a CSA is. Most people should know how that works, and they just need to be shown the process for getting to the store, or if there's any major changes, right? So let me talk about events before I talk about the actual email messages. First of all, we created a pre-launch runway by specifically hosting some very specific events in the weeks prior to opening the doors. And the first one I want to talk about is the Chopped competition. So the television show Chopped. This is a cooking show that's very popular on the Food Network. My customers love it. We decided to have our very own version of the Chopped competition, and we ran several mini challenges in the month of September within our Facebook group to try and pull out the pre-qualifiers or the semifinalists who would be invited to this big event that we were going to host and actually compete against each other. And that was a lot of fun. So we did 2 different challenges. They each pulled out, one pulled out 4, one pulled out 2. So by the end of the September, we had 6 finalists who were going to compete for the crown of Chopped champion. And then we actually had the Chopped competition event at a location at one of our restaurant partners hosted it at their site. We sold tickets to the event, and we did a lot of hype in the week before the early bird opened, before we opened up renewals, because we placed that competition on the Friday before we opened the doors to renewals. And that gave me something to talk about. It created a bunch of energy. There was a lot of excitement because it was a new event. We'd never done this before. And people were able to feel good about, oh, this is such a fun CSA. Look how it's celebrating some of our members. Wow, these guys are amazing. And then they could go to this event, have an amazing time. There was just a ton of energy from that event itself, and that could spill over onto the renewals. So I like to try and schedule either a farm dinner or something like this that reminds people why this is such a great CSA, and it validates their decision to have been a part of this community. It almost makes them not want to leave this community because they see how much fun they just had with this experience. So that was intentionally placed where it was. And then there's some messaging around it. It gives me something else to talk about too, besides just the salesy message. The second event that we did was something that I called CSA Giveaway Week. And this was happening during the week before we opened the doors to the renewal offer. And I also called it, there was a daily challenge question post, basically, in the Facebook group. Every day I went in, I just posted the question, and it was usually a very easy question, not meant to trick people, and all they had to do was respond to the question. And at the end of the day, I would pick one of the responses at random, and they would win a jar of honey. And we would have between 50 and 60 responses and comments every single day. And some of the questions that I asked were more values-based questions. For example, on Wednesday, the question was, tell us why you choose to support a CSA farm. And the responses that came out of that were valuable for a couple of reasons. Number one, it caused the customer to actually speak out into the world their values and why they love CSA so much. So they proclaim to their community, everyone who can read this post, hey, this is why I believe in CSA. And because of the principle of, people want to remain consistent with their prior commitments, this is going to make them much more likely to remain consistent with that commitment on Sunday when they go and have the chance to renew their CSA. Right? So when you encourage someone to proclaim their values as it relates to your product in the weeks prior to actually asking them to buy something, you do actually see an uptick in sales. But the other benefit of this is that those customers were reading other people's comments too, not just the one that they proclaimed to the world. And many of those comments might have been slightly different versions of what they said, or maybe another angle that they probably believed too. So now they're reading what their cohorts, what the other people in their community are believing. And they're like, they're in their mind, they're thinking, yeah, I think that too, or, oh, totally agree. And they're hitting like, and they're sub-commenting. And what it's doing is it's reminding them that this is your community, right? You are in a place of like-minded people. This is where you belong. And all of these other reasons for being in the CSA are also true for you. So they're saying those validations in different ways multiple times to themselves in their head as they're reading this, right? This is powerful stuff. So it's not just random questions like what's your favorite beet or whatever, your favorite lettuce variety. We're trying to ask questions that are pulling out these proclamations. And I think that definitely helps create a lot of excitement before we open the doors on Sunday. And there's also this feeling of like, there's all these people who believe in CSA. I'm not the only one. And there's this social proof that's happening as a result of that kind of campaign. And that giveaway week challenge strategy, that cost me 5 jars of honey, and the stuff that came out of it was amazing. Plus just the research, the feedback that's in those comments. I can go back and learn a ton about what my customer actually values about me. So I just really encourage it. I'll probably do an entire episode just on that particular promo strategy, because it's so powerful, and it actually is leveraging a marketing principle behind it. Okay, so those were the 2 events that I was using to create hype, to create extra momentum, and they were positioned in the week prior to opening the door for the promotion campaign. Now I want to talk about my email cadence, because I often get this question like, well, okay, so you're using email to promote this. What does that look like? How many emails are you sending? So I begin the process of messaging in this pre-launch runway about 8 days before I open the doors to the offer. So my usual rhythm of sending my weekly email newsletter to my CSA members is I send that out on Saturday mornings. I try for Friday, but it's usually Saturdays. So on Saturday, that's when this would have been, I guess, 2 Saturdays before the offer actually becomes available, okay? That is when I announce the offer details in the newsletter. And I also talk about how we're going to be doing this giveaway challenge, what I just described with the daily questions. That was sort of the main stuff in the newsletter. There does need to be a place, in my opinion, where you put the whole offer in all its glory, every little detail you can think of in one spot. That becomes the source of truth that they can go back to, or that you can point people to. I don't repeat that whole thing over and over again in my emails that come later. There's just one that really points to it. And on that day, so that was a Saturday, on that day, after I released that email to the world that points to the blog where most of that stuff lives, I also released some kind of a graphic in the Facebook group where I say, hey, just released all the details for the CSA early renewal promo. And they've been waiting for this because I've been teasing it in the 2 emails prior to this. I've been putting it in the PS like, hey, some of you are asking, how do we renew for next year? Details will be released on such and such date, right? So they're looking for this email. I finally tell them, okay, it's been released. If you haven't checked your email, you got to go see the details for what the offer is going to be. Okay, so that was the very first official beginning of the pre-launch period. And then after that, I have an email almost every single day until the card opens. I know some of your eyes are bugging out right now, but I want to say I had 5 emails out of those 7 days. And I tell people in those emails that they're going to be getting an email every day. I'm just really blunt about it. I'm like, hey, I know this is a little bit of email fatigue. Just bear with me. Like I bring it up at the beginning, but then I don't apologize for it. Okay, let me talk about what I'm talking about now. So as you're building out this email cadence and this email message and your social message too, you want to be thinking about, what do I want to highlight? What is it that I have to pick out? There's so many things you could talk about. And I like to focus each email or each post on one thing and one thing only. So I've got to be decisive. I've got to be selective. I have 5 or 6 talking points that I can pull out. What are they going to be? And I'm going to walk you through what some of those are, but usually some of the categories are pulling out some of the distinct elements of your offer that you want to make sure they know about. So I usually have a whole one just about the bonus. Where do you need to highlight the urgency to make sure they understand what are the urgent elements of this offer? And are there any logistics or changes, the key changes that have been made for next year that might have its own talking point? And then finally, like frequently asked questions that people might have that you want to make sure you remove all confusion about. Those are sort of the categories that spin around in my head as I'm trying to figure out, what do I need to highlight? This is sort of the highlights reel of your main offer, okay? So for me, on Sunday, the messaging spun around the details of the bonus, about the apple cider and the fact that there was a discount. And I really wanted to reiterate, you're only going to get this bonus if you sign up by the deadline. I'm not going to give this to you later, right? This is a 7-day offer and that's it. And I'll actually pass you the bonus on your final week of the CSA. And this is actually one of the reasons why I wanted to position this promo week when I did, so that I would have the cider to give them on the final week. Okay, so then on Monday, I chose to focus on an urgency element. So I talked about the egg scarcity and made sure that everyone knew, if you want eggs, you really have to buy within the first 10 minutes or you won't get one. And, I had a picture of a chicken. I talked about how quickly they've gone in the past, how you can't hoard them and get like 2 bi-weeklies so that you can get a weekly. I'm like, nope, you only get one. If the weeklies sell out, you can only get one bi-weekly. Like, I just walked through all of that process to make sure that no one could say, you didn't tell me, right? Like, no, this is the thing. And this is what actually gets people to come and buy on that first day. So I really spent a lot of time on this. And that's why it showed up early in the messaging sequence of my emails. This is not the 5th email I sent out. This is one of the first, because to me, this is kind of setting the tone for the urgency of the week. On Tuesday, I should go back and say, on Mondays when we also started doing those daily challenge questions, right? So that gave me an excuse of something to post in the Facebook group every day. So I'm posting the question. There's a bunch of chatter. People are going into the Facebook group every day just to answer that question. And while they're there, they're checking out other stuff. So it's driving that behavior back to the group. And then at the end of the day, I have the chance to go in and announce the winner. And so they're coming back to see who was the winner too, and anything else that might have dropped in there. So that's happening every single day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, there's that daily challenge post question. And that is creating a lot of like goodwill, and people are being reminded what some of their favorite parts of the season were and why they like these people and why they like these farmers. So I'm not going to mention that here as I go through this, but just know that that's happening in the Facebook group. On Tuesday, I didn't have an email. So that was a day where I took a break. We did pass out flyers at the pickup sites, though, on that day. On Wednesday, there was an email all about how payment works, because I do payment a little bit differently for the CSA. We do it check only. So I want to make sure they understand, when you go into the online store and purchase this on Sunday, you're not actually going to be asked to pay for it with your credit card. It's just going to be an invoice that kicks out to you, and you are expected to pay with a check or a bank check that you post date for a certain date. And I kind of walk through why we do it that way. I apologize a little bit for living in the dark ages, but this is the only thing we still do that for. And I just wanted to make sure they understood how that works, because that is a little weird and quirky. And so that gets its own day and its own messaging point. Okay, on Thursday, I talk about how there's a hidden price list. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time here talking this out if you're interested. This is sort of a tech thing. Sometimes I have farmers ask me, well, how are you keeping the public from finding out about this CSA? How are you keeping it just private to your own members? And the way that we do that is we we use Local Line, big fan of them. I am an affiliate for them, as you guys know. We have 2 price lists. So the normal price list is the one that everyone usually goes to just buy from week to week in our online store, and that just gets added to their basic box. But we have a second price list that we pay for that has its own unique URL link. And so I can hide that, right? Like you can turn that on and off with the toggle of a switch. And then when you're ready to turn on that element, that store, you just switch it over and now that's visible, but only if you know the URL. So that's sort of how I get around that. And I want to make sure that my customers know, hey, this isn't the CSA box offer. This isn't going to be in the usual place you go to buy your vegetables in the online store. And that's a pretty important distinction, right? I didn't want to have a bunch of people assume, oh, I know where to go. I just go to my usual place and I'll find it there. And then they go at 7 a.m. trying to get their eggs and they can't see the product and then they freak out. So this was a really important piece to communicate. Like, don't go to that store link. You got to go to a different one. And I didn't even want to share with them what it was yet. I gave them a redirect link. So I said, hey, it's, sharedlegacyfarms.com/early. And I know people still tried to go to that link and see if they could put it into their cart early. And I was like, you're not going to be able to. It redirected them to like a placeholder page until 7 a.m. on Sunday. And then it started taking them to the actual Local Line price list. But I wanted people to know about that. So that message on Thursday was just bookmark this link so that, because time is going to be of the essence for some of you. So just know that you've got to go to this link, not the other one. Okay, Friday, that was the day that we had the Chopped competition. And so there was a lot of messaging and hype around how we were getting ready for that. I was featuring the different finalists and just getting people excited. And then on Saturday is when our regular newsletter goes out for our CSA. So that kind of went out. It was creating a bunch of hype again, like, okay, here's your final instructions. Make sure you've got your homework is to figure out exactly what you want. Hopefully by now you know what you want. My community manager, Katie, was helping me on this day too by sharing content and getting people excited and asking people, what are you changing up next year? So she was almost coaching people to commit to their order before they even could in a Facebook post. So that was kind of interesting. And the messaging on Saturday was all about set your alarm, set your alarm, set your alarm. So I had a whole email that just was set your alarm. I didn't tell them any more stuff about the offer. I just said, tomorrow's the day. Here's the alarm, or here's the link that you're going to go to. Because what you want is that you want people by then to know what they want to order. Okay, if they don't know what they want to order, then you've missed the mark. Your job is to get them ready before that day before, and then on the final day before the door opens, your message is just don't forget, tomorrow's the day. Okay, and then what I wanted to bring up here last, so I'm going to finish this email cadence here in a second, but my fourth point here to when you run an early bird campaign is that you want to treat it like an event. And I hope that's coming through here as I'm talking this out. This is why I have such great, crazy results. I don't just kind of do this as a ho-hum, like, oh, I'm just going to send an email. This is a big deal. Like, this is 65, almost 70% of our income for the year for our farm. And so I'm going to spend a good amount of energy and time making sure I ace this, right? And so I treat this promotion differently than I would my spring plant sale, for instance, even though that gets a little bit of attention too. This is a level, like a tier 1, level 1 promo for me. And so I'm doing a lot to treat it like an event. It is a party. We're doing a lot of extra stuff around it. And I only do this once a year, and it's totally worth it. So when Sunday hits on the 15th, the messaging on Sunday, there were posts and emails that went out that just basically said, sign up is now open. And in the Facebook group, the post said, comment once you've renewed. And that set off a firestorm, and it was social proof too. So you had all like hundreds of people saying, did it, right? And that reminds people, oh, all these people are doing it at the same time. I better get in there and take care of it today. And it just validates everyone's decision. There was also a post that went out that day that eggs had sold out. This year they sold out in 10 minutes. The weekly shares sold out in 10 minutes, and the rest of them were gone in 40. So it continues to create kind of a legend, a myth around these egg shares. Now, during that first day, because I knew that the majority of the sales would come on that Sunday, I cleared my calendar. I didn't go to church. Lord forgive me. I didn't go to church on that day because I needed to just be present in case there were some mistakes or the tech fell apart or there were questions coming in or I can't access the store. Like I was ready to troubleshoot. And I was also present to just do rah and celebrate with people and say thank you and all of that and just be excited. Now, once Sunday was over and I saw the results that we'd hit 279, I felt really confident, right? I was in a place like, okay, well, we could just throw in the towel now. Like I've met my goal. And my goal was to hit 75% with this promotion. And I hit it. And I'm like, all right, well, this is great. And that really created a level of confidence that carried through the rest of the promotion. I showed up with different energy. I didn't feel like I needed to hound the group or I don't want to say I forgot about it, but everything had been pre-scheduled and I felt like, well, we've already hit our numbers. And so whatever comes in now is just bonus over the top. So there wasn't as much stuff in the cadence after this, but I'll walk you through some of the things I was thinking about. On Monday, we had the Port Clinton site. Remember, this is the site that I had closed for next year. Well, guess what? 10 of the 20 signed up anyway, and they were creating a carpool. And that was just really cool. And so suddenly there were a bunch more Port Clinton people that signed up when they started to see that there was a group of them that were mobilizing to figure out how to still support us. So that was just kind of interesting. So I reached out to people in Port Clinton personally through email and just said, hey, this is happening. So if you thought about not doing it, maybe you want to reconsider if you want to join this carpool, and I'll connect you with everyone if you decide to sign up. On Wednesday, my focus, so this is the week when the cart is actually open, okay? So pre-launch is over. We're now in launch mode. On Wednesday, I start talking about the wait list. What I'm trying to do now is just flush out the people who haven't committed yet. And I posted a question post, it was a contest where I said, guess how many people are on my CSA wait list? And they were going to get a jar of honey, whoever got closest to the number. And so the answer was 113, I think. And we did have someone that got really close to that, and they got the prize. But what that does, again, is it just creates a little bit of shock. It's a fun way to let people know how many people there are that want to get into your CSA, and it puts a little bit of fire under those who are still on the fence. On Friday, there was an email that went out to everyone that we wanted to do a tip the staff event. So every year we ask our members if they would like to give us a tip that we will share with our production crew. And this helps us give them a little bonus, and they walk away with a wad of cash, and it makes them feel really appreciated. We have super generous customers, and we always collect an awful lot of money this way for them, and it's really, really awesome. So that has nothing to do with the early bird promotion, but I love posting it in here because we're wrapping up. We're coming to the end of our season. Most of the people have renewed, and it's sort of an obvious messaging point to say, okay, it's now time to say thank you. If you want to do something kind for the staff, here's something you can do. And it's nice to have something in the Facebook group and in an email that has nothing to do with my email promotion, right? It's just a break in that messaging. All right, and then on Sunday, so this is the day before we close the cart. On Sunday, we announced to the community in the Facebook group that we were going to do a toast on Monday evening at 7:00 to toast our results and toast our community and celebrate. And the point I want to make here is that it's important for you to celebrate your results of your promotion with your customers because they actually want to know how you're doing, especially if you treat it like an event. This is sort of like when you see fundraisers in town and the thermometer gets colored in, right, as they get closer and closer to the goal. Like your customers want to know, where's your thermometer at? Like this whole week they're wondering, what's your number? How'd you do on the first day? Are we doing good? Are we getting you to your finish line? And so to have a moment when you announce where you're at and how awesome that is. And no matter what the number is, you make it sound like it's awesome, right? Even if you didn't meet the goal you had, you don't let them know that. You just tell them, this is amazing, and we're so grateful. So that was the moment we had. It was short and sweet, but we did want to give everyone a chance to hear from both of us. We just turned on our Facebook Live camera in our kitchen, and we were holding a margarita and a beer. And then on Monday, there was an email that went out that day around 5 o'clock, 5 hours before the cart closed, where I just said, this is your final call. And I think it had a clock in it, picture of a clock, and it was very simple. Like, I'm not going to, belabor the point here anymore, but just to say, this is your final day. And we did have, I think, I think I had 5 people come in on that second day as a result of that specific email. And then we closed the price list at 10 p.m. that night. So can you still sign up for our CSA if you are a current CSA member? Yes, you can. I want to make sure I say that. Just because we run an early bird launch and then we close it, doesn't mean that people can't sign up. It just means that they won't get the discount and they won't get the bonus. So if we still have spots left in April, and a person from this year hasn't renewed yet and tries to renew, they will be able to go to the store and buy it. But if they say, hey, do I get that apple cider since I was a member last year? I'll be like, no, right? And we hold the line on that because we want to train people that when we have these bonus offers, we mean it. Like the deadlines are real. Now, I also want to just say that there's going to be a couple of days here where I keep that price list closed. So I still have 75 spots available, and I am now resetting everything for my CSA waitlist. And I will repeat this process a little bit less intense, but I will repeat a similar sales process to my CSA waitlist, which currently has 167 people on it. And I have been talking to this wait list periodically over the last couple of weeks. One of the emails that went out to them was, hey, do you know you're on my wait list? Do you still want to be? And I give them a way to opt out of being on the wait list, but still stay on my email list by clicking on a link. So I've asked them that now twice, and I had about 20 people come off the list. But this new number of people with this tag, I have a 75% open rate on those emails. So I know that, that's probably about 120 people that are somewhat serious about maybe looking at this offer. So that helps me feel more confident now because I've asked those pre-qualifying questions and I've given them a chance to get off the list. Now I feel more confident going into another sort of sales promotion where I just talk to the wait list, and I will build a different offer. It won't be as good as the early bird offer, but there will be an offer for them as well. Probably the higher, it'll be the higher price, and there will be a slightly different bonus that won't be as valuable. And then I'll run that for 7 days here. I'll begin that on November 1st, and I'll try to get them to sign up. And whatever number we get to with that, whatever I have left, then I will open the doors to the public, and I'll let them know just kind of generically, and those spots will fill in over time. I won't even really have to promote them very hard throughout the spring. All right, here are just some final tips. That's sort of the overview of how the campaign ran. Final tips before I finish up. I created a launch schedule checklist that lived on a clipboard. I find this to be really helpful. I do sit down and actually map this whole process out. This year I did it a week before it actually started. So a week before my pre-launch messaging needs to begin is when I sat down and mapped it out. I got a little calendar out, I got some Post-it notes, and I was sort of just jotting down, these are the key messaging points I want to talk about. These are the days I'm going to talk about them. Now I need to go actually build the email and build the Facebook post. Okay, so I spent a good full day getting all of that stuff in position, and then I scheduled them so that it was like off my mind. I scheduled the emails, I scheduled the posts. But I wanted to have it all on a checklist, on a little launch schedule that I put onto a clipboard. And then I followed that. So every day, starting on the first day of the pre-launch, I could look at that and say, what are we talking about today in my email or in my social media post? I just want to know. Because there were some things that I had to do live. So remember those daily question posts when we were doing the daily challenge? I needed to go in and actually announce the winner. So I made sure that on those days, on this little checklist, I'm like, don't forget at 8 p.m. on this day, you have to go and check the names and pick somebody and make a post. So this checklist was really helpful to have, but I did try to schedule most of it and have it all pre-done so that it was off of my mind. I also wanted to tell you that I reused the same content from 2022. And whenever I tell people this, I feel like it's a little bit of like a surprise, but then also relief. What this means is that if you ever want to do this kind of a thing, you build it once, and there is an investment of time to build it the first time, to write the emails, to write the social post content, to come up with the ideas of what types of stuff you should even talk about. But once you have built it, you really do just rinse and repeat it the next year. Like I actually saved the little calendar with the Post-it notes from last year, and I pulled that out as I was planning for this year. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that, and I copied a lot of it. I also, in years past, I have a email like swipe file. Like I've copied and pasted all of the emails that I've sent, and I put them in a Google Doc. So that when it's time to do it the next year, I go back and say, what did I send when I wanted to talk about how payment works? What was the email? And I go and look at it, I copy and paste it, I change a few elements, but for the most part, it's the same email, and I schedule it. It saves a ton of time. So I just want to put that out there. Nobody's going to remember that you wrote that email the exact same way. I change out the images. Nobody knows. And it's okay to do this, especially if you're just doing it one time a year. Now, this year I also created a cheat sheet of the social images. So I've stored all the social images in a folder on Canva so I can go back and easily find them next year. But this year I also copied and pasted the post copy that went with those images so that I can even copy and paste that as a template for next time. And that's just going to make things a whole lot easier. Now, if you want to see what some of these cheat sheets look like, you can go into my early bird campaigns that convert course. That's one of the things that I offer in there. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to mydigitalfarmer.com/earlybird, and it will tell you all about what's inside of that course. It's really, really good. And then let's see, the timing of this type of promotion, I think does matter. I always tell people that you can learn this launch framework and you can do it any time of year. If you want to do it in January, or if you want to do it during CSA week, National CSA week, which is usually at the end of February, feel free. I personally feel like I get a better result doing it at the very end of my CSA season, just because of how my season always ends at the end of October. And I'm trying to ride the energy wave that I've taken the time to build while my CSA is still in session. But you could certainly try to do this a different time. However, I do think that you want to avoid the Christmas holidays. I've just seen over and over again that that's a tougher, you don't get quite the same results. So be thinking about, when do I want to do this? One of the benefits about trying to do it at the end of the season, even though you do have to find time to do it, is that if you actually get pretty good results, if you end up getting like 60% of your people to say yes before Christmas, you're going to be in a really different mindset going into the spring. There's going to be a sense of relief. Yes, you still have spots to fill, but at least you know where you stand. And that, to me, has value. Like, I'm willing to take the time to do it at the end of the season here so that I can have that peace of mind, or just that knowledge. And then I also just wanted to say, I reuse the same process when I pitch to my wait list. That offer will be a 7-day offer as well. But the emails, that there's not going to be as much of a social media kind of push or messaging element, because I'm talking privately to my wait list. That will be done primarily through email. And those emails will be written differently, because when you're talking to a wait list, you're talking to people who don't quite understand how CSA works yet, right? So that's a little bit more of a sales pitch. You have to answer some different questions than you would with people who've already done it before. So I wanted to make sure that I brought that up. Okay, there you have it. That is kind of the the audit of my sales promotion plan. And I hope that you listen to this, even if you're not a CSA farmer, and you got some ideas for how do I create hype and energy for a launch if I want to promote something really big. And you heard some of those principles at play. If you are a CSA farmer and you really want to try and create an awesome renewal promotion campaign, you'd like kind of the step-by-step, let me hold your hand, give you all the stuff process, go check out my course. I built that a few years ago. It was one of my first online courses because it was the thing that put me on the map. And it is the thing that, drives the income in our business. So you can learn more about that. The course is called CSA Early Bird Campaigns That Convert, and you can get it at mydigitalfarmer.com/early bird and learn the process there. All right, today's show notes can be found at mydigitalfarmer.com/235. If you liked today's episode, or if you know somebody who needs to hear this, please take the link of the show and go text it to someone right now, or share this podcast with someone, or go leave me a rating or a review. I would love that. I'm also on Instagram at mydigitalfarmer. If you want to head over there, I leave a story on my channel almost every day with a marketing tip to help you get better at your business. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. Have an awesome week, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.